Most people think GPS is simply a navigation system. In reality, GPS has become one of the invisible foundations of modern civilization. Beyond guiding drivers, it quietly synchronizes financial markets, mobile networks, electric grids, transportation systems, emergency services, agriculture, and countless digital services. This documentary explores why GPS has become one of the world's most critical hidden infrastructures and what would really happen if it suddenly disappeared. The United States Department of Transportation and GPS.gov officially categorized GPS not as a map utility, but as a positioning, navigation, and timing system, or PNT. It began in 1973 as a classified military project named Navstar, launching its first satellite in 1978. The system was designed for battlefield coordination, but its utility to the wider world was too vast to keep restricted. In May 2000, the United States removed selective availability, the intentional degradation of the civilian signal. This single policy change instantly upgraded civilian accuracy from 100 meters to within 10. Today, this single constellation of satellites functions as an invisible global utility. If the signal vanishes, navigation is merely the most visible domino to fall, exposing the silent networks that keep modern societies functioning. At the heart of this global coordination are 31 active satellites, each carrying onboard atomic clocks. These rubidium and cesium standards maintain a frequency stability of better than 1 part in 10 trillion per day. Instead of visual map data, these satellites transmit precise code phase timestamps. This scale, known as GPS time, is a continuous count of seconds that operates independently of leap seconds. Because radio signals travel at the speed of light, even a minor timing error of just 10 nanoseconds can distort calculations. To prevent this, a ground control segment of global monitor stations and a master control station constantly tracks the satellites, uploading orbital and clock corrections. On Earth, receivers capture these signals, comparing the arrival times to calculate both their exact position and local time. The National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, traces these timing signals back to the official global clock. When this shared reference is lost, independent systems do not fail instantly. Instead, their local clocks begin to drift apart, causing coordinated networks to silently fall out of alignment. Financial markets operate at speeds where milliseconds represent an eternity. To maintain order, global exchanges require every trade, quote, and electronic order to be recorded with absolute temporal precision. In the European Union, the Markets in Financial Instruments Directive, or MiFID II, overseen by the European Securities and Markets Authority, legally mandates that high-frequency trading clocks stay synchronized to a universal standard within 100 microseconds. Across the Atlantic, the Securities and Exchange Commission enforces similar strict standards for timestamp precision, treating synchronization as operationally critical. If these systems lose access to GPS timing, they must rely on local internal clocks that drift rapidly. Without a shared sub-microsecond reference, the sequence of transactions scrambles. Trades execute out of order, clearing systems face settlement mismatches, and electronic payment networks fail to reconcile buy and sell orders. The audit trails required to investigate flash crashes or market manipulation dissolve. When timing errors accumulate, the basic mechanisms of price discovery degrade, creating systemic risks that can freeze global liquidity. Ultimately, market confidence depends entirely on the ability to reconstruct who did what and exactly when they did it. Cellular networks require nanosecond precision to coordinate the millions of data packets moving through the air every second. Every local cell tower operates as a radio-based station, relying on GPS timing to remain perfectly aligned with its neighbors. The GSM A, and 3GPP standards mandate this synchronized transmission to prevent overlapping radio signals from colliding and causing mutual interference. For LTE and 5G networks, this microsecond-level synchronization is what makes high-speed data and seamless handovers possible as a user moves between tower coverage areas. Without this shared satellite reference, local base station clocks begin to drift independently. To a mobile user, this timing degradation does not look like an immediate system crash. Instead, it manifests as a sudden drop in signal strength, slower download speeds, and calls that abruptly disconnect during handovers. The invisible coordination holding the network together simply dissolves. Electrical grids face a constant, invisible challenge, matching power supply with demand across thousands of miles in real time. To manage this massive system, grid operators rely on wide-area visibility defined by standards from the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers and the North American Electric Reliability Corporation. This monitoring is driven by Phasor Measurement Units, or PMUS. Supported by Department of Energy initiatives, these specialized sensors measure voltage and current waves up to 60 times per second, stamping each reading with a precise global positioning system timestamp. By using these identical time markers, operators can compare conditions in distant regions side by side, spotting minor frequency variations before they spread. If the satellite timing reference is lost, the power does not immediately shut off. Instead, the grid operator's field of view begins to cloud. Without synchronized clocks, PMU, data becomes unreliable, forcing control rooms to discard real-time streams and rely on slower legacy systems. The loss of GPS timing does not trigger an instant blackout. Rather, it makes monitoring and grid control significantly harder, reducing operational confidence when it is needed most. The physical movement of goods and resources depends on this same satellite reference. In aviation, the Federal Aviation Administration and the International Civil Aviation Organization rely on GPS to coordinate flight paths, safety procedures, and landing approaches. When aircraft and air traffic control systems lose this signal, pilots revert to terrestrial beacons, while controllers must increase safety spacing, slowing down entire transit corridors. On the ground, rail systems and cargo ships use GPS to schedule block occupancy and optimize routes. Commercial logistics fleets track hundreds of thousands of trucks to keep supply chains running on tight windows. Even the soil depends on it. Guided by United States Department of Agriculture standards, precision agriculture uses satellite timing to coordinate automated steering and variable rate fertilizer application on tractors. Land surveyors similarly rely on the system to establish consistent physical baselines. While backup methods like manual steering can keep trains, planes, and tractors moving, the immediate consequence of losing the signal is a sharp drop in speed and precision across the global supply chain. The satellite constellation does not need to fail outright to disrupt modern systems. Because GPS signals travel thousands of miles through space, they arrive at Earth incredibly weak and easily overwhelmed by ground-based radio noise. Low-cost transmitters can jam these signals, while sophisticated spoofing devices feed receivers entirely false location and time data. In 2022, ships in the Black Sea experienced sudden, falsified position jumps. By 2023, high-power jamming in the Eastern European conflict corridor forced commercial aircraft to bypass GPS and use legacy instruments. Even space weather presents a hazard. The 2015 St. Patrick's Day solar storm caused ionospheric scintillation, triggering timing jitter across telecommunications networks and power grids. This localized interference creates a wider risk, a gradual, silent erosion of trust in the shared signal that coordinates global infrastructure. Securing global infrastructure does not mean finding a single, perfect replacement for satellite signals. Instead, the United States Department of Transportation, NIST, and the European Space Agency are coordinating a transition toward a layered network of independent backups. On land, terrestrial radio systems like LORAN transmit low-frequency, high-power signals that are difficult to disrupt, while regional fiber networks distribute sub-nanosecond timing directly through underground cables. On a local level, miniature chip-scale atomic clocks allow individual facilities to maintain internal synchronization for days during a signal loss. Combined with multi-GNSS receivers that track Galileo and Beidou alongside GPS, this multi-source approach prevents single-point failure, keeping critical networks functional even when space-based clocks are compromised. Our world is synchronized to the nanosecond by a fragile signal from orbit. The true vulnerability is not getting lost, but falling out of time. As we build resilient backups, we must decide how much of our future we anchor to the sky. Subscribe for more deep dives. Every crisis begins as a crack, small enough to ignore until it isn't.